So nice to have you both on, Angela and Katrina. How's SouthStart been for you so far?
It's been fun. It's jam-packed. I think probably the highlight's been the party at night. So Adelaide does know how to put on a party. Katrina?
It does. It's got the best food.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's all close together.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go down Peel Street and be in all these amazing bars and restaurants and I feel like I'm, because for me this feels like Brisbane. You know, I feel, well, no. What I want to say differently is that
Vegas.
Yeah, I can tell you the story how that actually came about.
Really? I don't know that story.
I do know how the story works. It's hilarious. It's actually, very people go, really? Is that how it happened? I went, yeah, that's how it happened. No, I love this city. It's great. It's a really exciting state. I think because it's like you guys are just getting on with it.
Mm. And can I just add in now, I think one of the beauties about doing stuff in Adelaide is that we are a community where I call it a little bit like hyper-connected.
Yep.
Everyone knows everyone. So if you don't know where to find something, you ask someone. The power of networks is immense here in Adelaide, and that's one of our greatest strengths. Just don't stuff up because it could be one of your biggest problems. But I think that's the beauty of Adelaideans. We support each other. And from...
So you call yourselves Adelaideans?
Adelaideans.
That's very elegant.
Oh, well, we're very elegant here in Adelaide.
We call ourselves Brizzos.
that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, okay.
Brizzos.
So where did Bris Vegas start? I want to know that now.
Yeah, okay, Bris Vegas. I'll quickly tell you the story. It came from Rockhampton.
Okay.
So the misfits, the crazy kids in the 80s or the 90s, they actually claimed Rockhampton to be Rock Vegas.
Okay.
And then when they all left because of conservatism and blah, 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 and they came to Brisbane and just through the club scene, the Rocky kids called Brisbane Bris Vegas. Yeah, so that's how it got its label.
Do you get to spend much time in Adelaide, or?
This is my second time here.
Okay, cool.
So I was down here in July for the New Ventures Institute.
Okay, great.
Because Angela runs the blockchain symposium every year.
Yep. So this year was my second year. I actually asked Civic Ledger, who Katrina co-founded. But we had the pleasure of Grantley Males. So he came on, but I was super keen to have Katrina, and I think it was more about having more women in blockchain, having that conversation. It's not enough that we see of, and it would probably be a great segue for Katrina to talk about women in blockchain, what she's doing in Brisbane.
Beautiful.
And building up that community, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we've got we ran an article in the Australian Financial Review, I think it was about 2 months ago, and I worked really hard with a journalist. Well, I wrote most of it because they don't write anymore.
No, you give them the copy.
Yeah, I
and then
gave them the copy. And what I really wanted them to talk about is not talk about that we weren't here, because we get told that a lot. We get told there's no women in the crypto space, there's no women in blockchain, where are you? And we're like, we're here. We actually do build really good companies, and let's have that conversation. So I wanted to show the readers or Australia that when we look at the hype around blockchain and around the ICOs and the Lambos and the bros and all that sort of stuff, we don't have those conversations. And I wanted to really pinpoint the women I know in my community who actually are running companies, like Emma Weston with AgriDigital and Ruth Hathaway, the amazing Ruth Hathaway from Western Australia.
Leanne
Camp, who's now Queensland Entrepreneurs. Cool. There's all these women who have actually built the companies, and we haven't actually run ICOs. Only Gemma Green from Power Ledger, she's the only female that's actually been involved in an ICO. We've actually all raised through customer sales.
Yeah, cool.
So we've got validation from the market through customers and just some seed round. So I know AgriDigital is a little bit further up the chain from us in terms of where they are with their raises. But we've validated ourselves through customers and solving problems that really will actually be useful for this tech.
And let's talk about maybe some of the problems that you are solving using the tech. Because I think, there is a lot of hype around crypto and blockchain, and I think a lot of people don't know what they're talking about when they start talking about it.
Yeah, everyone's an expert now.
Yeah.
Have you seen LinkedIn?
I-
Everyone's an expert.
Everybody is an expert.
They're either an ICO advisor, they're a blockchain advisor, they're all bloody experts. And it's like, nobody is an expert. If you're Satoshi Nakamoto,
Yeah.
You're an
yes,
expert.
you're an expert.
Yeah.
If you're Vitalik Buterin,
Yes.
you're an expert. Everyone else, we're learning. We're learning this technology as it's evolving, and
Yeah.
it's moving really, really, really fast.
And I've had lots of chats to people about it, but I still feel like, I have such a sort of a very thin veneer of an understanding, and I understand sort of the principles behind it, but I'm really interested in real world applications where it's actually going to come in and solve real world applications. So I know you talk about government and getting things, replacing
Digitalised.
legacy systems
Yeah.
with systems that are going to be more secure and more transparent.
Yes.
What's some real world applications that you're working on, that you see people working on?
Well, we're having this conversation on stage, is that it's really, there's 4 things that blockchain's very useful for. And you'll see in all different use cases these elements that make sense. Is a registry.
Yep.
So you need to know who has what and who is transacting what. So governments own registries.
Yep.
They have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we're all on them all the time.
Yep.
But that is duplicated all the time, and we're forever as citizens or customers having to represent ourselves to government to get those services.
Sure.
We now know that if we solve the problem of digital identity, that there'll be an authentication process going forward. It's like you just give certain aspects of yourself to verify that you can actually walk through that door.
And kind of one point of truth.
One point of truth.
Yeah.
And we as citizens then can actually move more liquidity, more easy between government departments
Sure.
to get our services, because we start getting the services built around us rather than the other way around.
A good example is I tried to set up something on MyGov. I wanted to find out how much of my HEX debt was left to pay off, because I have no idea. and I was trying to set it up, and the amount of hurdles that I had to go through to actually get access to that information was ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
it was around ID.
I-
Getting
ID,
yourself
100%.
verified
Yep.
onto
Verified.
the system.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if we solve that problem, and the second problem if we solve was called programmable money,
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
wait till the innovation that comes out of that. But, it's about ensuring that you don't move into dystopia as well.
Yeah.
Because that's also another issue that everyone freaks out about, dystopia. But yeah, look, you have to have really good governance systems and business rules around it. But registries, so we all get that. When we're born, we go on a registry. When we die, we go on a registry.
Yep.
But there's a lot of stuff that happen between that.
Yes.
And how do we actually get services without having to go through that friction and that cost? The second is, we talk about all the time, is supply chains.
Okay.
Because of counterparty risk in the transaction. So we've got a lot of people in the transaction who don't trust each other,
Yep.
and they spend a lot of money manufacturing trust, so goods can move from one point to the next. The third is trading platforms, so the consumption of something, whether it's a one-sided consumption of an asset or it's traded, like the exchange stock exchange.
Sure.
Think
Or
about
real
that way.
estate. Yep.
Real estate,
Real estate.
yeah. We exchange value with each other, and that goes across platforms.
Yep.
And the last is provenance. We
Okay.
want to know where something has come from. So if you think about those 4 operational designs, that's where blockchain technology plays well in. But they have to be big problems. You don't drop the tech in.
No, that's right.
It's not a
Plug and play.
it's not a plug and play. Eventually, yeah, later down the track. And that's what a lot of people get mistaken. They think that they can go build the next intranet.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have the arguments around permission blockchains and private blockchains and public blockchains and all that sort of stuff. So the idea is that if you are only wanting to use it internally within your own organization with no other externalities, do not use a blockchain.
Sure.
Ever.
Got
because
that?
it's a waste of time.
Yep.
It's a waste of money, it's a waste of time.
There's perfectly great softwares and infrastructures, technology infrastructures that
It's-
deliver
It
exactly
existed.
that. So
And it's all about just add a little bit of encryption.
Yeah, sure.
Get better at handling your data. The other thing I think the myth is that people think that because you put it into the tech, it all of a sudden becomes true.
Okay. Sure. That's not necessarily the case, is it?
No. No. So you've got to go through an awful lot of process and thinking around data. You have to start to really rethink it. You have to really slow down and say, what is this data? Where is it coming from? Who can authenticate it? Who can verify it? what's our consensus to verify that this data is correct before you even
Put it in
think
this-
about
yeah.
before you put, because once it goes into the chain, it's there.
That's
Yep.
exactly right, and that's probably what I was going to say. You've got to make sure that the data that goes on there is correct, because this is an immutable technology, so you can't change it.
Snap.
And okay, so the challenges then, if we're talking about government and or big corporate, that do have these legacy systems and databases spread across blah blah blah. How do we go about, I suppose, cleaning that data and then setting up?
So first of all, you have to go back and you have to. It's all about the business model and actually understanding what is the problem you need to solve.
Yep.
And if you're very clear on your problem statement, and you're very clear on your hypothesis and the assumptions that you've built around it, then you know where the data is coming from, where it needs to move to, and the stakeholders you need to have in the room.
Sure.
So it's just not having conversations with coders. The coders come last.
There's a sort of reverse engineering it.
Yeah,
Correct.
Exactly. You actually need people in the room who have a direct relationship with the data.
Yep.
And they need to make the decision on how the rules are going to work for the data in the future. So legacy systems, yes, you're not going to ask government now to abandon legacy systems. Politically, it's just not going to happen.
No.
But you can actually look at interoperability.
Okay.
And that's where the tech can actually do as well. So when we work with registries, you're not going to say, right, now let's go build you a ledger. You're actually saying, how do we actually push the data into your existing registries?
Okay, sure. Using the technology.
Using the tech, but they also have to start thinking about who's the custodian of that registry.
Yeah, okay.
Who's the issuer of the information? Who's the issuer of that data or those assets?
And all the rules that sit around that information as well.
Oh, yes.
Because
Yes.
who has got the right and how much of that information should be out there.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of rules, business rules.
So we work with, Ange knows this story, but we work with water. So one of the things that we look at is water, and there's a long story how we got involved in that project. But I realised we thought it was 80 water products with 15,000 business rules, but no, it's 300 water products. 300 water products that are in the agricultural water market. And so why is this complex?
Yeah.
You have one regulator, i.e. one that sets the Water Act, which is the Australian government.
Okay.
But they delegate the responsibility to the state governments for them to allocate, to actually say who can be an entitlement owner, who can actually have an entitlement.
Yep.
And then they are different. All the 4 state governments are different. They manage those assets differently. Their languages are different. Their registries are at very different ages. So South Australia, pen and paper, guys. That's what you use.
Whoa.
You're using pen and paper to verify who is
There's
trading.
disruption.
Exactly.
To happen.
And I think the most up to date is Victoria, and I think their system's 15 years old.
Sure.
There's no interoperability between those systems. And what happens too is that the layers of rules and legislation have been built up over time that overlay how those assets can be treated, how they can be shared, how they can be used. So for a farmer, it's hard.
Yeah, at the end of the supply chain. Can I just make a point in terms of no one's talking to each other, and this is an important point. You mentioned back in a presentation that you have to have collaboration.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that collaboration, the blockchain won't work either. So that's an important part of that.
And that's a real shift.
The
It's a
community
mind shift.
within the water ledger needs to come together.
And that's a mind shift because we're so driven by competition.
Yep.
We're all about trying to secure everyone else's customers.
Yep.
Yet what we have to do is actually put the customer at the centre, or the asset, the common resource, shared asset at the centre, and build our relationship with that. And that requires us saying, well, who's touching it? Who's having a relationship with that? Okay, then how do we have a relationship with each other? It's not about giving each other's, competitive edge
Secrets
away.
away. No.
You've got to. That's got to be managed away a different way, and that's through the design of how you build the tech. And that's the biggest change because it's a mindset change.
But it's something we've been talking about a lot over the last few days, that transition from a proprietary put up
System,
walls
yes.
to
Open
transparency.
ecosystems.
Yeah.
That's right, and it's a massive shift. And for government, their future is about being open government, where we secure data, we secure registries, and then because government are awesome at public policy and budgets and all that sort of stuff, but they're not so good at service delivery.
Sure.
We're not getting that Uber experience from government.
No, definitely not.
So how do we get that without government spending more money,
Yeah.
more regulation, more money, more resources? So what we do is we show them that once the data is secured, you build the business rules into the data on how it can behave outside the walls. And then they're allowed, that's when innovation occurs, because then industry can take that data and build new businesses with it, or build better ways of delivering government services.
Yeah, and I think if people can buoy each other up without necessarily having to, even if you're competitors, it's good to have those conversations. And
because you're creating value. And that's what blockchain is about. It's like, you hear things like it's the internet of trust, it's the value thing. It's because we're actually finally having transparent conversations around how we value something. So if we actually knew the true value of water, because we don't, because price is not revealed.
Yep.
If we actually understood the value of water in terms of price, perhaps we might actually have a different relationship with the way we actually manage that asset or share that asset.
I think it's a great opportunity for the government to reconnect with the population, because there seems to be this divide, absolutely. And the fact that if the blockchain delivers that transparency, all of a sudden the population, you get trust, and that
you get
sits
engagement
at the core. Absolutely.
Because then people actually will value the services that are being delivered because they have an understanding of its transparency. Where does it come from? How much does it cost?
And how much is left?
How much is left?
Which is, I think, a very good thing, especially talking about water in the current situation in the country.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is Australia does water markets really well.
Okay.
We are actually leading in the world. When water industry around the world think about water markets, they think of Australia.
Cool.
And we are awesome at it. But it's not
There's
perfect.
still so much more we can do.
There's so much more we can do. And it's not linked to the actual... It is about, who's got the asset and who's sharing and who's using it. But it's about what water does.
Yeah.
It grows things. It builds cities.
It's the foundation of life.
Literally is, yeah.
It is. But once that asset is compromised, what happens? People go to war. Like Mark Twain, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting.
Yeah, sure.
And we will see a future where countries will stop water supplies because they'll become a finite resource.
And we were talking on our podcast the other week with a winemaker who's using organic farming principles, but soil as well, the soil degradation, which is obviously directly linked to water management as well.
Absolutely. So we see when you start thinking about what you're just now talking about as an ecosystem. So all of a sudden you've gone from the actual trade to now how is it consumed? How does it have effect on soil?
Yep.
On product, quality. And that's when you start creating an ecosystem
and
relationship.
Does just flow through that whole supply chain from the very start.
And that's what blockchain does. And this is the thing, like everyone wants to say, no, we're going to go build private permission blockchains because we want to build walls again. It's like, well, tell me why. And if it's just about efficiency, awesome. But if you're saying that you want to build out an ecosystem, but you're actually only giving permission to only a few, that's not the principles of blockchain technology.
No.
Blockchain technology enables ecosystems through openness.
It's kind of radical transparency.
It is. It's radical transparency, and that's a hard thing for people to get their heads around.
And it's something that I think a lot of people, that's what they pinpoint. They start... And probably from a level of probably a bit of naivety, but it's just saying, well, what does this mean? That all my data is going to be available for people to see.
Yeah, that's another massive myth. You do not put personal data into the blockchain.
No.
Would you put it out there anyway? Then why are we now exactly? And this is the things. Just because we put blockchain into the conversation, all of a sudden people go, but you're not having my personal data. And it's like, well, we don't want your personal data. Why are we now having that conversation when we don't even have it already? We're not having. We know you have to manage privacy and confidentiality. The thing too is that there's another mythology that because it's blockchain, it's this wild thing. But as we talk about this all the time, when you're working in an industry or a vertical, you're still having to be compliant with regulation and law. Just because it's BC doesn't mean all of a sudden it doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Not just it's not the Wild West.
It is. It's that's why we have the Wild West on our screens. But there's another perception. People start thinking, it's uncontrolled and nobody owns it. Yeah, but if you actually work with water, you have regulation. You have business rules. We have an agreed way of managing that asset. Blockchain is about creating transparency to enable a peer-to-peer transaction of that water without intermediaries clipping along the way or opaquing the industry. where you get corruption.
Yep.
And that is where the potential is removing nefarious actors out of the transaction, so therefore we get a collaboration over a common resource.
Yeah.
Have you come across Intimate token?
Oh, yeah, I love Leah.
Yeah, so I chatted to Leah at Pause Fest last year.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
She's awesome.
She's amazing. And again, that's another misconception.
Yeah.
As soon as people see Intimate IO, they go, oh, that's that porn industry. It's like, no, if you look at the problems that they're actually solving, it's phenomenal. They're actually creating financial inclusion for the people who work in the sex industry.
I think that for me, on a sort of an understanding of how blockchain can actually, and crypto can really impact, that's a really good model.
It is.
And it makes a lot of sense from a trust perspective,
Exactly.
from the transactional perspective.
And it's not sensationalism. If you've met her, she's incredible.
Yeah, she's great.
She's awesome. But when you look at their value proposition, because when people first look at Intimate IO, they think, oh, sex industry, porn, it's that thing. But then you go, well, what do you mean that people get their bank accounts stopped?
Yeah.
Because they have sex industry. But sex industry is legal.
That's right. And
it's legal, regulated activity, yet banks will actually make a decision to stop payments because of their moral
it's an
code.
ethical decision. And
it's a moral. But
an illegal decision.
It's illegal and it's moral.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. And that's what I love, And Leah, another chick.
Yeah,
Another chick.
Yeah, chick.
Solving a big problem.
Really big problem.
Exactly.
Exciting.
I know. It's and I guess Adelaide, and this is why Angie's here, because she's been building your community. You've been building for 3 years now, just in stealth mode. And now look at this.
Yeah, it's
We're
amazing.
actually finally having a conversation.
Yep, absolutely. There's amazing groundswell, and I guess it's all of the community. There's a lot of, actors and all trying to do their own thing. But if we work collaboratively, and Adelaide is a great place to do that. Yeah, we've got a bright future.
Yeah,
and bringing amazing people like Katrina from other places to come in and visit and sprinkle some gold dust where they can. But also let us do our thing, because we know what problems we are solving.
Yeah.
It's important to be local and relevant. So.
And I think that's the opportunity here. It's all over Australia, and if Adelaide, if South Australia, I'm really hoping they do. I think they'll be the first state to really declare on how they're actually using this technology in real world stuff. Not just talking about it.
Yeah, sure.
Be on the frontier.
Because we just hear a lot of this.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard over the last 3 or 4 years. And for me, it's about, let's stop talking and let's get on with it. And as Katrina mentioned, we are in a fantastic position to be able to do that and roll out some amazing use cases and solve some great problems.
And one of the things is, and we have this conversation, I'm always having this conversation, we have this hashtag, give a startup a purchase order.
Yeah.
Don't give them, it's important to have grants and it's important to have investors. Investors are really critical, but they come after the customer.
Yeah.
All right, you've got to get customer transaction, then you start getting valuations, and then you're able to get your VC funding or whatever funding to actually then scale. It doesn't work the other way around. So if government becomes first customer, to support the local industry here, because the problem is that we don't have enough devs that understand this technology. And if you don't have the devs who understand the tech, you're not going to get the strategists who you need in the conversation to strategize how this technology is to be implemented.
Well, I'll take that down to a local level. We have got some great little clusters, and one of them is a cluster of dev, and that's Adelaide Blockchain.
Yes.
So
cool.
Paul Penondis.
And he's awesome.
And he is awesome. He spruiks blockchain in Adelaide, but he has got this great cohort of university students that are devs, and they're looking for opportunities.
And they need to
blockchain.
work on stuff that's real.
And they're keen and they're chomping at the bit to do stuff. So
this has been a common thread, is talking about university and getting people from industry back into university and giving real world problems. So
and
that
not
people
a
actually,
hackathon.
No, it doesn't need to
Do
be.
not do a hackathon. If you've got $150,000 to spend on a hackathon, write 5 purchase orders.
Yeah, sure.
And get the 5 startups to collaborate together on how to solve problems.
And get them back into uni and talking to it.
Because the only way you can solve problems is through co-creation.
Sure.
So you need to co-create how you're going to solve. And you need the right people around the table to make that happen. And you need to be in it. You can't be on the outside going, I've got a blockchain No, you need to actually build the problem, understand the problem. And you can only do that by collaboration.
And then back on a local level, we've got some great incubator spaces here. We've got Think Lab. I'm from Flinders New Venture Institute. So, there are great resources to actually bring industry back in front of the students and vice versa, getting those students in front of the industry and solving those problems.
And I think you've also got all these amazing, because you are wine, you are, that's provenance, that's fraud, there's so much counterparty risk once things start moving.
Yeah, a little bit about myself. I've come from the wine industry.
Okay.
So, there's certainly a solid application to do something in that space and provenance. And we're seeing a lot of fraudulent activity. So I think there's some serious problems.
Devalues the product.
Absolutely, and devalues the industry
and its reputation.
We did some mobile application work, not using blockchain, but around provenance and ensuring that, or securing the supply chain from Australia
farm gate to consumer
to China, though, because fraud in China it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It is, and so that's why I think when we think about perfect storms and perfect timing, it is all about timing. We've been working. Our company's been around for 2 years. So you could say you'd be going, what the hell, you've been around for 2 years? You're blockchain, how can that be? You're ancient. And our runway's been long. But we actually knew many years ago, because I came from government, so is Grantley. Grantley used to be the Chief Digital Officer for Adelaide as well as Victoria, so for South Australia. So he gets the tech and he gets government. But we've had a long runway, but we've actually worked on really good problems. Big things like water and patents and licenses and things that happen because of being a human.
And they're going to have immediate real-world application as well.
They do. And it's because it's about, but where we need to get to is actually putting the tech in the background, because I must say, we've been doing this for a while. And it's always the people go, well, what's the blockchain? And you're going, are you going to code it? I go, no. And I go, well, do you really want to go under the hood? You seriously want to go and see what Solidity program looks like?
Yeah.
And you're like, we don't do this with the internet. We don't do this with email. All we want to know, does it work?
Sure.
Does it what's its value proposition, and is it going to make it better? Am I going to have a better experience? Am I going to have a better experience? And that's the question you've got to ask. If we use this tech, is it going to create a better experience? And if the answer is no, then don't use it.
Well, UX is really at the core of every innovation.
Exactly. Design,
because that's your uptake. Otherwise,
you've got to make it elegant.
Correct.
And
make
nobody
it gorgeous.
really cares what's under the hood.
No. But why do they care about blockchain?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I'm for it. We're forever.
Nobody ever asks us how an app works in the background. No. It's all about the UI UX.
Exactly. Right. It's about what it feels like in your hand.
Interesting. Yeah.
But we have to do the mandatory. Yeah. So let's talk about blockchain. It is a blah blah blah. And then you can say it 50 different times, different ways. But the good thing is, behind the scenes that we see as well, it's not really probably known out there in the public, is that there's a lot of work going on within the community in working with Standards Australia to build out an agreed standard or guideline on smart contracts.
Sure.
And smart contracts are the things that do the code about, if this then. So it gives that automation to something to enable the transaction to move through the process automatically. Now, if those smart contracts are coded wrong, there's a little bit of impact. So you want to set an agreement, you want to advise the tech community on how the guidelines of how technology, there's about 5 different definitions of scalability. Okay. And that's important when you're building this tech doing smart contracts. So it's called TC307.
TC307.
Got that?
So it's an ISO TC307, and Australia is actually responsible for that.
For the standard, cool.
So Australia is actually the Secretariat. It's been appointed as the Secretariat for Blockchain Standards for the world.
Wow. That's exciting.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. So Australia's really left in, and we have the Australian Digital Commerce Association, which advises governments. So we've got the Parliamentary Friends on the 3rd of December, which is a bilateral collaboration between both sides.
Nice.
Wow.
So that's been 5 years' worth of work to ensure that we've got both sides of the house engaged with this technology. We'd just like to see a little bit more money come to the table because AI is getting everything. Anyway, another story. And And we've got Blockchain Australia, which actually does all the community, so all the meetups. So I run a meetup in Brisbane, the Brisbane Women in Blockchain. We also do work, co-host with Lucas around the Bitcoin blockchain meetups. So we've got about 3,000 people activated in Brisbane.
Wow, that's great.
Who come through meetups, and that's all free. We do this every other week, where we actually have meetups and we educate and educate and educate and educate, and we bring really awesome people from around Australia and interview them, do Q&As with them, talk about what they're doing, how they're solving problems.
That's fantastic.
And that's great for building awareness and good understanding, solid understanding in terms of...
And building that community, right?
Yeah,
always.
And with no government. It's all been organically done around Australia.
Yeah, self-organising.
Another thread that has come out, especially in SA, there's often been this in the startup community, the entrepreneurial community, a bit of a reliance on government, feeling like government need to help us. Whereas the thread has been, no, well, let's just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Government play their place, and that we do need their help at some stages.
Yeah, you can lean on them. Yeah. For whatever you need, but it's self-organisation.
And that's it's the heart of blockchain. It's decentralized.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right.
It's distributed. You self-organise, self-manage.
Yeah.
And we just knew, Lucas has been running his since 2013.
Wow.
When it was just him and his mate. It got busy last year in December, November.
I bet.
Our meetups were
bet.
very busy.
Yeah. Big ground
dropped down a little bit since then.
Yeah. we always make them laugh that the more people, it's when the BTC is going up, that's when we know we got more people coming to the meetups.
Yeah, sure.
Correlation.
There was we work in a co-working space with an office there, but there was December last year, there was a lot of talk of Bitcoin, wasn't there, David?
Yeah, well, people actually were, it was really frightening because people were leveraging their homes for it. And it's like, if you don't understand the technology, don't do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was really incredible.
It's frightening.
It is. It's where it is now, but it's just unfortunate that people get really tipped into the hype and they don't want to do any education, yet stuff is free. You can go to YouTube, you go to the meetups, and you're actually talking to people who actually know what they're talking about.
I think that's also the value of my symposiums here, is that it's about educating the consumers. And my first symposium, it was about awareness. We did Blockchain 101. Just to say, this is what it is, this is what it looks like. But the second round was more about, okay, well, let's see what's going on out there on the ground, the use cases, what works, what doesn't work, but also looking at some of the fundamentals that sit behind the blockchain. We looked at trust, an important element of that. And
what is that?
Yeah, what is that? And it's interesting going into the smart contract. It's great because the smart contract has to have the trust, and if the trust exists because of the blockchain, then people are going to participate, and all of a sudden you've got uptake and consumption.
Yeah, so there's a lot of layers to it. But,
absolutely.
But I guess it's no excuse now to see people say, oh, that's not ever going to go. It's now 10 years old, people. Yeah. It's 10. It's 10. And I guess that's another thing we talk about too, is that there's such a high expectation. It's like, well, when's this technology going to take off?
Sure.
When's it going to take off? And it's like, it's literally 3 years old, people. The internet is now 25. AI is 70.
Yeah, and just talking to Matt before about that, that 70 years of research and 3 massive cycles where it's gone through.
Yeah, and we're having our winter at the moment for BC. All crypto's having its winter. But the thing is, why is there so much expectation that this technology is supposed to be commercial now?
Yeah.
When we're still building highways, we're still building the infrastructure, we're still trying to understand it, and there's people go, well, we're writing it off now.
We talked about this a lot yesterday as well, but attention spans and media cycles, and that's the world we live in now, where people want immediate gratification, and what's this? Why is it not? Why isn't it?
But we've got so many problems, and I guess this is the thing: humans have a few problems. The tech is not going to solve it.
No.
We have to be leaning in and actually controlling it, and actually using the tech to enable us to solve problems.
Across the board. And I think
it's the same for AI, ML, the whole gamut of acronyms that we use now. They all got to have their part, but you have to lean in. You have to get activated. You can't step back and say to enterprise, and I think we're learning a little bit about that problem with Facebook and stuff, but we can't just say to corporates or enterprise, oh, well, you go solve that, and we'll be here. Government need to lean in. We all need to lean in and have a conversation around how this technology is going to work.
And this is where it's exciting in South Australia because Marshall's declared on numerous occasions, you know,
And he-
blockchain's on the agenda. And
he didn't burn. He didn't like blow up or self-combust because he said VC on a public stage.
yeah.
You know, and somebody didn't come along and say, talk about that Bitcoin thing. You know, he speaks it very confidently. And that's a very unique thing in this country because it's still very hard to get people to talk about that as a tool in the armour to actually start looking at the way government works differently.
And away from that kind of the hype cycle of it as well, just as another tool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think he's got a. Well, the good thing is that because he speaks about it, he has to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he uses it in the right
Politician.
context. So great stuff.
Well, you know, you guys go back to the polls, you be looking.
Yeah.
Where is it, Steve?
Yeah.
Show us.
Thanks so much for the chat. If people want to find out about the symposiums and the things you do here in Adelaide, where can they find?
Yeah, just Google New Venture Institute, www.nviflinders.edu.au. We've got lots of ways to connect with us. My details are on the website. Love to hear from you. So come on over.
And up in Brizzy?
Oh, Brizzy.
Brizzo?
Brizzo. Sorry, it makes me laugh. Well, we're obviously Civic Ledger, so we're civicledger.com. But yeah, you can Google us because we're everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
We're everywhere now. But it's been an awesome ride. It's been an awesome ride, and I just feel really good about 2019.
We're still driving.
Exciting.
We're still building highways.
Oh yeah.
Still putting that stuff down.
Looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much for having the chat.
Thanks.
Cheers.